Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. All right, welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Great to be with you after a wild and woolly weekend. I had a good weekend. I hope you all did too. Dennis Dodd is going to join us today. Usually we have Coach Spurrier on Monday. He is at the Hall of Fame dinner, I think it is, or presentation, or whatever it is. He's going for that. I think he's going next Monday for the Heisman. Hopefully we'll have him on Friday. Maybe not. We still aren't sure about that. Some way or another we'll have somebody on Friday. We'll have a good guest. You know that. So we'll see what happens there. And we are happy to be coming to you. We got some good guests today, too. Not only Dennis Dodd, but Wayne Hogan's going to join us in a little bit to talk about Florida's rising stars and what they're trying to do. And so that was unusual. I haven't heard a bang on the side of the podcast room in a long time. They may be hitting somebody. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, certainly. And let's get right to it with the Hand-Law starting lineup. And, of course, we love the Hand-Law starting lineup because we love Chris Hand. We love everything he does. The starting lineup is presented to you by Hand-Law, Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand-Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Number one on the Hand-Law starting lineup, the Gators are in Vegas. We were sitting around when I found out they were going there, which we kind of, at first I thought they were going, then I didn't think they were going, and then I said, I think they are going, which doesn't really matter. But the interesting thing was we were sitting around at Nopal, which is a great place. Love going there, having a few drinks, and of course, then it became the cry of, let's go to Vegas, man, let's go. And there are going to be a lot of people to do that. I mean, Gator fans are going to show up for the game. I'm not saying they're going to put 20,000 people there, but a lot of people are going to say, hey, how many times do you get to go to Vegas? The problem, of course, is, there's two problems. One is you got a limited amount of time to get ready and get flights booked and everything like that. The second thing is you're playing a really good team, and I'll get to that in a minute. Oregon State's really good. And it could mean you end up with another 6-7 season. This bowl started in 92, and then just recently the SEC got involved with it, which makes a lot of sense. Another negative thing about it is you do lose a recruiting weekend. You can't recruit the weekend when you're at a bowl site, and as a result, that's the last recruiting weekend. But I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be okay. Look, they wanted this bowl game. And I don't agree with, again, this decision or this wanting to have it. But this is what I was told, that they wanted to be there because they wanted players to play. They wanted guys to show up. Well, a lot of guys are opting out. But other than Osiris Torrance, who obviously we knew was going to go to the NFL, really, there's nobody that's going to make a huge difference. Still, you're going to have a real depth problem with this team. And that's the number two thing on the Hand-Law starting lineup is who the heck is going to play quarterback. Anthony Richardson, as I'm talking right now, has not done anything. We know he's going out. That's everybody's opinion. Nobody's really talking to him about it. But we know he's going out, which means he wouldn't play in a bowl game. He'd be crazy to play in a bowl game. Just like somebody was talking about the Kentucky bowl game, and I'm like, and they go, well, Will Levis play? I go, what are you talking about? He has fooled people enough to think that he's a top 10 draft pick. Why would he go play and get hurt or do anything or play even worse? And Anthony Richardson is not going to play in that game. I don't think. So now you end up with Kyle Engel or Jack Miller, who we still think is an actual person. We've never really seen him play. But this team they're playing is good, and they can score a lot of points. Karen and I were watching the Oregon State game 2 weeks, I guess a week and a few days ago. She got into football on that Saturday, and we got watching that game, and I was trying to explain to her Jonathan Smith and who he is and what a great job he's done there. Oregon State was the dregs of college football. I mean, it was maybe the worst program in the country, which that probably belongs to Colorado right now. It's always a Pac-10 school or a Pac-12 school. Anyway, they were the worst. And he came in there and they won. I mean, they won enough. And now here with a great team. This team is a really good team, 9-3. They lost by 3 to Washington and they won their last 3 games. They lost by 3 to USC. Utah did spank them. Again, comparative scores don't mean anything, but it's their second straight bowl game, which is a big deal at Utah. So, I mean, I'm sorry, at Oregon State. I'm going to confuse those all week. Utah, Oregon State, Washington State, they all are the same team to me. Anyway, we'll see who that is going forward. Number 3 on the hand-loss starting lineup, and we'll talk more about the obviously the matchup with Oregon State. I won't always say Washington State, Oregon State. We'll talk more about that when we get to closer to the game. Playoffs announced yesterday. No big surprise. I think we all kind of were like, there was part of me that said, I can tell you what it is. It's not even going to be close. And in fact, TCU, Georgia, and Michigan play games that don't even matter. And that's one of the many flaws of the system we have. Hopefully it'll get better with the 12. I don't know that we're going to see more and more flaws there as well. But Georgia against Ohio State ought to be an interesting game. Ohio State, I don't think, has the depth to play with Georgia. I mean, when I say depth, I mean depth of elite talent. You can have a lot of depth and not have elite depth. And if you don't have elite depth, you can't win against a team like Georgia. They're that good. And then TCU, Michigan. Happy to see TCU get in. What a game that was. Clearly the best game of the weekend. And it was just a lot of fun to watch. And Alabama really had no chance. Alabama had no good wins. The SEC let Alabama down. The conference that has helped Alabama get into some championship games maybe it shouldn't have, or championship playoffs that maybe it shouldn't have, let it down. It really did, because, the 2 teams that were really good in this conference, Alabama lost to, and then, the other teams just fell off enough that they didn't have their best win was over Texas, and nobody really thinks much of Texas. So anyway, Alabama really never had a chance. Number 4, the Heisman votes are in, and I can't tell you who I voted for, but I will tell you there are a lot of. I will tell you this much: the 6 guys that I wrote down when I finally decided, all right, out of these 3, and that's what I like to do. Come up with 6 guys that are my finalists, and then vote for the 3 and figure it out. And I voted for them Sunday morning. Sorry, I wanted to sleep on it, and then I talked to my wife about it. And my wife has a lot of influence. She watched a lot of college football this weekend, like I did, like she always does. And I respect her opinion a lot. And she had me flip flop 2 and 3. Now I'm not going to tell you who they are, but she had me flip-flop them, and she made a great point. And I said, you're right. That should have been the deciding vote or deciding thing. I don't think either one will win it. I don't know who's going to win it. It was the hardest vote I've ever done, ever. Wasn't even close. I mean, I was sitting there. I mean, I could make an argument for or against. Sorry, got a little burpee there. For or against anybody. I could go with some running back. I will tell you, I ended up with all quarterbacks, and maybe that was wrong. Maybe there's some other people I should have considered. I was kind of waiting for somebody else to step up and do something. But anyway, I can't tell you who it is until after the Heisman, because that's the rule. And I do like being a Heisman voter. There's 2 reasons why I like being a Heisman voter. If I'm not voting, that doesn't negate some idiot who's voting who has no clue what's going on in college football. And secondly, is it usually gives me something to talk about. It used to give me 2 columns to write about. I like voting. I've told you the story. I think it was on Pat Dooley's Storytime. I got a different one today, but about when I got the letter from the Heisman people saying, you revealed your vote. We're going to take it away. Oh, no, please don't. I was all weepy. Don't take it away. And they didn't. All right. And then finally, number 5, volleyball with a win. On to the Sweet 16. Again, they weren't really pushed too hard here. Beat Iowa State in the, I think that would have been the round of 32. So they're in the Sweet 16. 29th time they've gotten to the Sweet 16. Give Mary Wise some credit. I don't know how they're going to do. They got a obviously very tough match now, and they're going to a tough place to play. I've been there. Well, I could, that would be a good Pat Dooley story time, but I'd prefer not to tell it. That's all I can say about that. Yeah. So give them some credit. What a great job they've done. Mary Wise quietly has gotten to be 25-5. I don't think people, because football takes all of our focus. We know that, but it's a different animal. Anyway, so congratulations to Mary Wise. All right, before we get to Wayne Hogan's going to join us in just a little bit. Before we get to him, it's time. Coach Berger's not here, but we are going to do our Campus USA play of the weekend, and there was a lot of stuff going on. This was my play of the weekend. This was the Utah-USC game, and I'm watching this game, and I'm rooting for Utah, as we know, as we've rooted for Utah all year. This play, watch this. No, you won't be tackling me. Former rugby player who they recruited to come play football. Why aren't you recruiting more? You're recruiting all these Australian rules football kickers. Why don't you recruit those kind of guys? I will say this, watching that game, there was a girl in the stands who kept saying the F word over and over again. And I was like, you're in Utah. And she was saying it loud, like screaming it as loud as she could. That was funny. That was a good win for Utah. And I think Florida ended up playing, of the last group of in the college football rankings, Florida played 6 of the top 19. 6 of the top 19. That was their schedule. That was without any, championship game or anything like that. 6 of the top 19. And I said this in my back 9 column. I do think it's important that I think it was a perfect schedule for Billy Napier, because Billy got to find out everything he needed to know about his team in 1 year. 1 year. Here's them going on the road. Unbelievable environment. Here's them playing at home. Unbelievable environment. Here's them playing not an unbelievable environment. He knows everything he needs to know because of that schedule. That's my theory. I'm sticking with it. All right, we got to get a break. When we come back, we will be joined by Wayne Hogan, who we'll talk about Florida's Rising Stars with him, and then Dennis Dodd right after that will join us, and we will talk to him about all the great things college football. Dennis Dodd, of course, from CBS Sports.com, just a great guy. He's a guy I call when I don't know stuff. He's the guy I call. So we'll have him on here as well. Right now, we got to take a break. We'll be right back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. This is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley's Story Time is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150, and all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, which is a lot of Gator stuff, but now we're bringing on a guy who likes them Seminoles a little too much, but he and I were together a long time when I covered the Seminoles. I know Gator fans sometimes go, "You covered them? How dare you do that?" I go, "It was the easiest job I ever had because of Wayne Hogan and Bobby Bowden." But Wayne joins us right now to talk a little bit about Florida Rising Stars and what they have for us coming up, and really cool stuff coming up. What's going on? I mean, I know you guys are selling some stuff to, especially for this seminar that you have. I think there's one at Newberry tomorrow and PK Young Wednesday, right?
We'll be in PK Young on Wednesday. The Newberry seminar is not actually going to be until after the first of the year, Pat.
Okay.
We are. I want to put out a due warning that I'll be personally setting foot in the beautiful city of Gainesville on Wednesday at PK Young. I will not be wearing any Seminole attire, no war paint, none of that. Actually, I have an orange and blue shirt on today, but
well, there you go.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, Wayne, that was a great thing. You knew when I was covering Florida State. You knew I went to Florida, and I knew you had allegiance to Florida State, but we saw past all that. This was back in the days when people could reach across the aisle.
It's so funny that there's a difference between people that work in the industry, whatever roles it may be. Those of us that were within the athletic departments of FSU in Florida, those who were journalists like yourself, radio, TV, newspaper guys, all of that. We kind of understood what it was all about a little bit. It's like it's a difference between being a fan and having this just terrible hate for the other team and the opponent. But we saw each other as professionals. I mean, that's what we did.
Right.
We worked as professionals. We knew you had a job to do. You knew we had a job. We tried to do it as best we could. And I was fortunate enough, Pat, to work with Bobby Bowden because of all the media people that have ever come along in sports, there couldn't have been anybody any more accommodating than Bobby Bowden. That's just flat out. If you're a Gator fan or a Hurricane fan or whatever,
Absolutely.
it's just flat a true story. You can take anything else away from him you want, but not his ability to communicate with the media.
No, it was unbelievable. And I know the guy that you worked with that was good at communicating with the media is now the head coach of Colorado. And has already told everybody, get in the portal. Go ahead. Just get in the portal, everybody.
Deion Sanders. He was one of my faves. That was in the heart of my time there at FSU. I was the sports information director and, assistant AD and all of that. Had responsibility for a lot of the media operations at that time, or all of the media operations. And I ended up with this kid from Fort Myers, and we had no idea what to do with him. We really didn't know what we had been given. And I'll never forget the first year Deion was on campus at FSU. Honest to goodness, his very first year, he was somewhat quiet. He just, he didn't make a lot of noise and anything like that. And I'll never forget, we were getting ready to start preseason practice in his sophomore year. And we had our annual media day where all the press came in and everybody did interviews with coaches and players. And one, obviously he was one of our best players and one guy we were touting. And we put him in a chair in front of, 30 or 40 reporters and TV cameras everywhere. And I swear to God, Pat, all of a sudden, this guy just blows up right in front of our eyes. It's like the real Deion, the one now, suddenly just came out. And it was one of the most fascinating, 30, 45-minute sessions that I've ever seen. But believe it or not, myself and my staff and all of us who had put together the media day, we had never seen this before. And we just looked at each other and said, what in the world is he doing? And that was the beginning of prime time.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that he's going to do well there because I can't think of anybody else I would hire that could attract players the way he's going to. But, of course, we had to change the rules about attending class because of prime time, but that's okay.
Prime time figured it out. Prime time was always a step ahead of everybody else. One of the things you got to watch this guy. He's cagey, and he can sometimes get out ahead of people. And he outthought all the adults on that deal.
He did, absolutely. Hey, so let's talk about what you're doing here. I know it's selling Bobby Bowden stuff in Gainesville. Is some people would question that for a Gainesville. Gator-oriented podcast here, but I love Bobby. We got along great during my time. He spoke to my wife one time, and she became a huge Bobby Bowden fan. It's just the way he was. But talk about what you're trying to do with this Florida Rising Stars situation in terms of trying to raise some money.
Yeah, this has been a fascinating undertaking. And I understand the audience there in Gainesville is, some may be flipping off the computer right now, but I hope you'll stay with me for 1 second, because this story is going to involve the head ball coach in a big way. As we started our Florida Rising Stars organization, and what we do, Pat, in a nutshell, is we go into high schools and we teach high school kids about careers in sports. Right. We're essentially a career day for high school kids that tells them all of the different ways they can go into the sports business behind the scenes. Everything from marketing to administration, to athletic training, to coaching, you name it. And that's our gig. I think we're the only ones doing that. It's a very unique proposal that we make to high schools. We do it at no cost to the school, no cost to the student. So what happened was, when we started, we started to figure out we needed some ambassadors, some people to speak for us on a big scale across the state of Florida. And the first two ambassadors that we were able to convince about what we're doing were Bobby Bowden and Steve Spurrier. And so they were our very first two ambassadors. We now have over 50 ambassadors. A lot of names like Mark Rick and Vince Dooley, the late Vince Dooley. We had a number of guys, of that ilk that were involved in what we're doing. But obviously, at the end of Coach Bowden's life, he died in 2021. And before he passed, he was able to participate in a documentary film. And it's called The Bowden Dynasty, a story of faith, family, and football. And what this is a beautiful piece about Bobby's life and about how he was able to achieve greatness and a high level of success, and doing it the right way with his family, the right way with his faith, his religion and his faith, and the right way in terms of integrity and not breaking the rules and playing by the rules. And one of the things that Coach wanted us to do just before his death was make sure that this message was received by high school kids across Florida. He said, this is a story that they need to know. They really need this. And so we've taken that upon ourselves, because we're an organization that goes into high schools already. And the head ball coach got very involved in it. And, as much as their rivalry was between each other, Gators and Seminoles, this transcends all of that. And I think Steve Spurrier understands that. And so we're out trying to raise a little bit of money by selling cases of books and video and DVDs that we are taking into high schools and delivering them, so that these high school athletic directors, high school coaches can distribute these materials to the appropriate kids and perhaps show this film to kids. Not about this is not about who's better, who's not. It's Seminoles Gators. This is about life. This is about dealing with life and how football fits into that.
All right, Wayne, we appreciate you being on. We're going to play this as we go out. We're going to play the thing that Coach Spurrier did to talk about this thing. We appreciate all you're doing for the kids. We really do, and keep at it. I need to see you, man. You need to come up here and have a couple of 5220s with me. No doubt. You don't have to ask me twice, brother. I'll be happy to do that. Hey, one thing I would say before you go to the clip, our website is where to go for information on this. If anyone has information about going in and wanting to support this cause, it's FloridaRisingStars.com. Very easy. The name of the organization, FloridaRisingStars.com. All right, my man. I will see you soon, okay? We love you, Patty. All right, buddy. Love you too. Wayne Hogan from Florida Rising Stars. And let's play that clip now of Coach Spurrier talking about what he feels. Again, we aren't having Spurrier on today, Coach Spurrier on today, but here he is for at least a minute.
This is Steve Spurrier, and I'd like to say that I thoroughly enjoyed working with Coach Bobby Bowden as we were the ambassadors for the Florida Rising Stars Foundation that we worked together for the last several years. I know we were all deeply saddened with his passing, but now we would like to do everything we can to help complete his wish and mine and to share faith, family, and football with our youth here in the state of Florida. So please help the Florida Rising Star Foundation in their mission to distribute meaningful books and DVDs to the high schools across our state of Florida. The Gators and Seminoles alike will agree. The importance of sharing these valuable lessons with our young people is something we must do. Thanks.
All right, we want to thank Wayne Hogan for coming on from Florida's Rising Stars to talk about what they're trying to do to raise money to have a lot of different things there, and especially they're going to do these seminars out at Newberry and Pecan. Right now, we're going to be joined by Dennis Dodd from CBSSports.com, the guy I call whenever I have a question. In fact, I already called him this morning to find out if I was right or wrong about something, and his answer was, I have no idea what you're talking about. So Dennis Dodd joins us right now. How you doing, buddy?
I am great. Yeah, I can say that a lot. I can say I don't know a lot. But, pass it on to somebody else. I'm great. How are you?
Good. Hey, so it wasn't exactly a lot of anticipation for the Sunday show, but it went about what we thought it would. I told people, I said, Alabama never had a chance. They didn't have a good win. That was their problem. I think the SEC let Alabama down the same way they've been lifting them up for so many years.
Yeah, I think the only reason this is a discussion point Saturday and Sunday is the networks let Nick on. It's like,
That's
sure,
right.
but wait a minute. When did it? Now Nick's done it before, and it was a legitimate discussion point in 11 and 17 when they got in. But now, I mean, Tennessee scored the most points on Alabama since 1907. They lost 2 games late. Yeah, you lost 2 games. There was 4 teams ahead of you with 0 and 1 loss.
You won 2 games late.
Right. And went down the last play with A&M, and there's 2 teams below you that beat you. So, I frankly didn't think Alabama was even a discussion point for the network to put them on, and it just became a little bit of pandering. It was not good.
Yeah. The more I thought about it, I think somebody flashed up best win was over Texas, and I went,
Texas.
They got no chance of getting in at that point. That's when I knew TCU was getting in, because my wife and I were watching the game, and again, she's not watching TCU all year. I am, and she's asking me about the quarterback. I go, well, he's going to be on my ballot. I just don't know where I'm going to put him, Heisman ballot. But just the whole story about, I said, look, I think they're in because this game is going to come down to the end, whether they win or lose this game, but they still want to win it. I was trying to explain to her. I think she totally understood, but no big surprises on this at all.
No.
Which kind of left for made it kind of a dull weekend after Utah beat USC.
Yeah, the top 3 could afford to lose. TCU did, and State 3, which they absolutely should be. They're the only team in the country that they went undefeated against every team in its conference and lost to a team that is already beaten by 10. So what did it have to prove? And lost that game, by the way, in overtime on a field goal. And one of the guttier performances we've seen in a while from Max Duggan. Right. I don't want to hear about Ohio State moving up to 3 when they sat on the couch, went shopping, went to a movie, caught up on homework.
8 cheeseburgers
after getting drilled in one of the epic down at Michigan series the week before. They should just be hitting their knees and thanking their lucky stars. So no, it's those 4. It's interesting. It's 2 Big Tens with a possible rematch if we get that far. TCU's the newbie, which I think is really fun, and that's why I'm going to the Fiesta Bowl. I think that's a great story. And then hovering over it all, Pat, as you know, is Georgia is absolutely the powerhouse and the team to beat now. 15 in a row, defending champs. Looks like they're going to do it again. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that's a question I had for you. Is this team that if Georgia goes through this and wins it all, I mean, they've got to be in that. I mean, I know a lot of people like to talk about that 2019 LSU team, but this could be the best team to ever play, even though their quarterback gets no love. But they may be the best team that's ever played the game for a 2-year stretch, kind of like that Florida basketball team in 06 and 07.
Yeah, it will be a significant achievement because they would be only the second team to do it in the last 28 years. Nebraska did it 3 out of 4 years, remember, in the mid-90s, and then Alabama in 2010 and 11, and now this, where it's so hard to do it because the institution of the playoff, you got to win, at least one more game to get there. And it's a team that's hard to put a finger on. It's not like LSU, Joe Burrow and 60 touchdown passes, and Ohio State didn't need him, and Jamar Chase, this unbelievable team. It's just kind of this. Last year was the best defense. Stetson Bennett has turned it from game manager to game influencer. He's the second leading passer in the SEC. How many people know that? He's not going to. The biggest thing about him is, and it sounds boring, he's not going to get you beat. He's not going to be the one to throw that interception or make that fumble or get into the wrong play. Because he did that again Saturday night, and the result was predictable. I guess the only question I had, I don't know what Ryan Kelly. I'm sorry, I don't know if Kirby Smarty answered it because I was running around after the game. The 2-point conversion kind of was interesting. What did he just want to get to 50? But at what cost? You're just antagonizing LSU. He's going to have to play at some point again, but that's the only thing we're worried about. We're just pretty good.
Maybe it's because they have no idea when they'll ever play LSU again.
Right.
Because
that's right.
The SEC doesn't.
Never in a 16 team. Yeah.
They still haven't figured out what their schedule is going to look like. You talked about Stetson Bennett. I will ask you this. My Heisman vote yesterday, I made it yesterday, was the hardest vote I've made. I had no idea who to vote for. I had a negative and a positive for every. I had 6 candidates at the end, and I can't reveal my ballot, obviously, but obviously it was all quarterbacks, so that's all that have a chance. But it was hard to go. You could go, but he didn't do this, but he did this. Who do you think's going to win?
After further, and I can reveal mine because I gave mine up in 2015 because I couldn't reveal my vote. I think it's ridiculous.
I do too, but I still like doing it.
Right. I thought Caleb Williams had it locked before Friday.
Right.
And I still think he's going to win it. I mean, if you sit there, okay, USC lost. They got worked. But look what a difference it made when, not that he didn't get knocked out, he pulled his hammy. And he sat back there as a pocket passer, and his numbers were still really, really good. I mean, he gutted it out. And to be a USC quarterback and to be undefeated or to be at one loss up until that point is not the worst thing in the world. I think he accounted for 44 touchdowns going into that game. I think he'll win because what you said, you can make a case for and against everybody, including him, and everybody below him. Max Duggan, gutty performance, great performance, the heart and soul of TCU, but they lost. Stetson Bennett is not a dynamic guy, but he's the quarterback of one of 2 undefeated teams in the country. And
there has to be something said for what
there has to be something said.
Yeah.
He didn't take a snap. Think about this. He didn't take a snap in spring practice in 2020. A year and a half later, he's the second leading passer in the SEC.
Yeah.
Going for 2 straight national championships. So I think those 3 you can pick among the running backs that you want. But that's the other thing. Blake Corum's injured and is out.
Yeah.
He's out for the year, so you can't really have him as a contender, I guess.
And then because they won the biggest game of the year without him,
Right.
And that's where you kind of get confused. Like with Caleb Williams, I'll be honest with you, what he had on his painted on his fingernails had an influence on my vote.
What was that? I'm trying to remember.
It was F Utah is what it was. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And that's not, I don't think that's what the Heisman people are looking for. They're looking for good, upstanding citizens like O.J. Simpson, Reggie Bush, guys like that.
Cam Newton, remember that?
Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, players like that. They're looking for the best of the best, top 1% of 1%.
They changed the rules so Cam Newton could play in the SEC championship game.
Oh my God!
The laptop of Florida. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But it certainly has been an interesting year. Finally, Dennis, we did get the Rose Bowl to acquiesce, which I knew we all knew was going to happen. They weren't going to just say, oh, no, we're just going to take the two teams that you have left over. We knew they were going to do that, but is it exciting now to think about in a year we'll only have one more year of the 4-team and go to the 12-team, or are you not in favor of that 12-team playoff?
No, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be great. In fact, I was reminded that the structure they have set up beginning in 24 could easily accommodate 16. They're already going to play on 2 days. The first round's going to be 2 days, 2 games each. The top 4 get by. Okay, the other 8 will play 2 and 2, approximately 12 days after the conference championship. Well, if you have 16, you're just adding 4 teams and 2 more games, and you just play those, add those onto the schedule, and away we go. So I think they're going to see there's going to be a windfall in revenue, and obviously they know that. I think there'll be more with 16, and it'll just be more fun. You can make the case that all these big games we saw, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama playing at Tennessee, all this stuff, Michigan, Ohio State now with just proceeding, but they built entire blocks of programming in the NFL about talking heads speculating on home field, on wild card, and who's going to play where, and home field. The Chiefs gave up home field in the AFC yesterday, losing to the Bengals. That's a huge deal. I suspect that will translate to college.
I do too.
I think maybe less games of the century, but more talk about that.
Yeah, but now we have, and let me tell you what, Alabama, Tennessee was not about the playoffs. There was not one moment of that game where I thought about the playoffs. I was thinking about the rivalry that Tennessee needed to get over the hump, that the conference and their division and everything were on the line, just what it meant to those fans. That wasn't about getting to the playoffs. No. And I think you're going to have more good games. You're going to have more games that you want to watch. So the eyes are going to just get maybe moved to a different network for this time or that time. I think it's going to be good for college football to go to this 12 or 16, as you said, game playoff.
When Bob Bowlesby, he was part of that 4-man crew that developed this, the old commissioner of the Big 12, when they announced this, and they announced it, if you remember, in June of 2021, to fanfare and acceptance. And then Texas and OU went to the SEC, and away we go. But anyway, on that day, he said, I think on November 1st or thereabouts, there'll be 30 to 35 teams in contention. And I started to think, wow, that's really cool. That'll cause a lot of interest and a lot of stuff to write about. I looked at it this year, and it was about 20 or 25, so that really doesn't make any difference. The point is, yeah, he was right. It's going to bring more interest to the game. And
it's still more than 7.
more depth, right? More depth into games that matter. Give more opportunities to a group of 5s and teams down the food chain in the Power 5. So, no, I think it's great.
All right, more surprising to you, Jamie Chadwell to Liberty or Scott Satterfield to Cincinnati?
Jamie Chadwell, I think, to Liberty because I thought his next move would be to Power 5.
I did too, yeah.
That has a lateral feel to it. The money's the money. Liberty has more money than some small European countries, a religious private. But, and look, I think he's a great coach, and I think he's going to succeed there. But I think he could have cut out the middleman and has had some opportunities to go to some jobs, maybe not this year, but certainly the last couple of years, and has chosen to go to Liberty. So that was a strange one. Satterfield was on the hot seat three quarters of the way through the season, and they finished with a flourish. And Cincinnati went and got him. I thought there were some bigger names available for that job, but apparently they went with him. And it's going to be, I don't know what the word is. I guess it's going to be harder in the Big 12. To accomplish what they did, or maybe easier. I don't know which, because they got to the playoff playing in the American, which if you really want to be brutally honest, that's what the Big 12 is trending towards now. When they lose Texas and Oklahoma, but they're going to have access to the playoffs. So that's fine.
This is, yeah, I think the carousel's pretty much stopped.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, somebody can get fired or do something weird or jump to the NFL or whatever, but I think we pretty much know it. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. I was kind of looking, and then all of a sudden, Trent Dilfer gets a UAB job, and, it was just kind of weird this year.
I went and saw Trent Dilfer Friday. That was an experience because I was in Atlanta and I could, drive down there. It's 155 miles. And he was amazing. I just think there's a generation of people that just think of him as this guy making Elite 11 documentaries, and he still owns it. He's got so much money from that, and he played in the NFL and had Super Bowl quarterback. We obviously know all that. But I never knew he had this, this intent to coach. And he went to Lipscomb Academy in Nashville 3 or 4 years ago, and they had 36 guys show up for their first meeting, and then 4 years later they won, I think, back-to-back state titles. And now he wants to go to UAB. It seemed odd for him. UAB seems below him, but not really. They won that league in a 12-team.
You got a new stadium too, don't they?
They have a new stadium you can draw to. I mean, he's a guy who consulted with Nick, with Urban, any name you can think of on taking this job. He's that well known because of the Elite 11 connections. And I think it's got like a Southeastern Dion feel to it, that he's going to be this Pied Piper who's going to be able to get players in there and get really good really quick. So, no, that was a good one.
All right, it's time for us to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Of course, Yes, No, Where, Maybe is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. Street dining done the right way. And if you go in there and mention this podcast, you get free fries with your order. And, of course, Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports is appearing on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. Number one for you on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Jonathan Smith is maybe the most underrated coach in college football. I'm trying to educate Gator fans about Oregon State.
Yeah, I absolutely. I had this discussion with my son. He used to work at Oregon State. He had an internship there. And Jonathan Smith, who, if you don't know him, is the coach at Oregon State, but was the quarterback of the last great team there in 2001 that went to the Fiesta Bowl under Dennis Erickson, and now has them winning, I think, 8 games this year. They are a junior version of Utah that you saw Friday night. Very physical, very tough. They are able to get a surprising amount of really good skill players on the West Coast. His team in the last 2 years had a bunch of guys in the NFL. Not so much a quarterback, but they're serviceable there. But they're I don't want to say sneaky good, but Jonathan Smith is a guy that he looks like a lifer there unless he gets plucked by a top 10 program. That's how well in high regard he's held by his peers.
All right, number two on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Deion Sanders will be successful in Boulder.
Yes, but at what cost? I mean, now you have this. I listened to the press conference yesterday, and now you have this video circulating that Deion basically at the first team meeting running off all his players and telling them he's going to bring in a whole new team from the portal. He's bringing my luggage with me, and it's Louis, meaning the con, and he's already said his son is going to be the starter.
Yeah,
you've got players.
There's not going to be any competition for that job.
No, you've got players at Colorado calling their existing coaches saying, "Am I going to have a spot on the team?" But guess what? Welcome to modern college football. And that's why Colorado, quote unquote, sold its soul to do this. Because Colorado's kind of a sleepy, quasi-academic program. There is no alignment with football. It's not very well resourced. And it's gone to the depths of, I think it's right now the worst Power 5 program, but won't be for long. And we have tangible evidence of what can happen in a short amount of time with the likes of USC, with TCU, with some of those into the portal. And he'll do that, and they will be good. They've already said publicly they're going to soften their academic transfer policy so they can get players in. So if that's the way they want to go, then fine. I would urge everybody to try to go see the press conference. It's very revealing about Dion as a person, as a coach, because even at Jackson State when he was doing this, a lot of stuff he did wasn't really public. It was written about, but when you're at a Power 5 and you have that kind of press conference, it was really something.
All right, finally, number 3, and this is going to take some brain power here. When we go to the 12-team playoff in 2014, Florida will be part of that playoff mix, 12-team playoff mix.
Well,
yes, nowhere, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, because they're certainly trending upward, I think, and that and the fact that the SEC is going to have first and best access to the 12 with the Big Ten. To the point, there will be a day, I would suspect, when there's maybe 4 teams from one of those conferences in. So if in that situation, and I'm basing the things on today, they can be the second best team to Georgia in the East, then absolutely they can get in there. But that's assuming there is an East. We haven't had the discussion about all these conferences going to one division. So
I want some answers on that.
I'd say maybe. Yeah.
I want some answers on that, Greg Sankey. I want to know what the schedule's going to look like going forward.
I think they're the only holdout right now. I think everybody else is philosophically in line. Big 12, American, and Pac-12 are already doing it. We don't know what the schedule is going to look like if they do that in the SEC, and that's key.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Hey, as always, Dennis, it's always great talking to you, buddy, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and thanks so much for joining us here. And anything you need to plug, CBSSports.com, we know that.
I'm going to plug time off right now. If anybody can help me with docs to watch that are piled up in the TV, I'm glad to go watch them when I get time. The portal opened today. It never
I know. It's open. Look, I can see people running by here right now. They're trying to get in the portal. They're trying to jump on. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a crazy December, I think. But, again, appreciate you coming on, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Pat.
All right. Thanks, Dennis Dodd, CBSSports.com. So smart. Really love talking to him about college football. It is time for us to take a break. We'll come back with Hesser and Kipke and all the other fun things we do in the third segment. You are watching or listening to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Melvin Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. This is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer to go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of East Lake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about East Lake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150, and all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It is time for us to do 3 things. As always, it is presented by Hesser Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. We appreciate them as our great sponsors of 3 things. Number 1, nice win for basketball on Sunday night. I mean, I was a little worried going into that game because it's funny because if FSU had lost to Stetson, I'm like, well, Stetson, man, maybe they got a good team this year. And Donnie Jones, I know him very well. He's been on this show, actually. But, I mean, the fact is Florida came out and played really well against a team that's mediocre. As we know, turns out FSU's not so good, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that's a good win. So now they set up for this big game with UConn. The schedule is about to change drastically. I think this is going to be an up-and-down season. I feel like it's going to kind of go kind of like football, where you kind of feel good and then you don't feel so good. I think that's why. To go from the West Virginia loss, where they got destroyed and didn't show up in Portland, to these back-to-back wins at home against mediocre teams, but won by a lot and looked like a good team, got a lot of confidence shooting. We'll see. I have no idea still what this team is going to be basketball-wise, but UConn, which comes in at 9-0 and is ranked, I think, 8th in the country. That's going to be a test on Thursday, right? I've got it written down here somewhere. Wednesday is the UConn-Florida game. That'll be fun. The late game. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. Number 2 on Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. I want to talk a little bit about ACC basketball, which usually is not something we talk a lot about, but it's kind of weird what's going on over there. Louisville is 0-8 right now. They lost their first 3 games by 1 point. They've lost the next 7 by a lot more than 1 point. The point is they've lost them all. New coach coming in there. FSU, as I just mentioned, is 1-9. Who'd have thought that at this point in the season, Louisville and FSU would be 1-17 combined? And on top of that is what Carolina's doing, which they've lost 3 in a row. This is a team that everybody goes, this is a national champ. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of time. And they still could be, but they're obviously having a lot of problems. Maybe they're not dealing with the target on their back well. But that is amazing that they're sitting there at, with 3 straight losses, I think, or is it 4 straight losses? I think it's 4 straight losses that they've got. Kind of weird. They're the league is 5-14 against top 25 teams. As a league, that's not good. The funny thing is, they still got more wins than the SEC because the SEC hadn't played a lot of top 25 teams. The SEC is 4-3. The SEC is weird in its own way. Everybody's got great records, but nobody's really proven themselves. Kentucky's played this unbelievable schedule. It really is. And they're getting better. Watch out for Kentucky. Anyway, that's my basketball diatribe here. Finally, number 3 on Yes, No, Where. Maybe we'd have a baseball item in here because Ken loves baseball. Fred McGriff goes into the Hall of Fame. Some committee they put together. I don't know. It's called Old Timers with Merit. I don't know what it's called. I don't care. I'm just happy the Crime Dog is going to the Hall of Fame. Not only was I a big fan of his when he came over to the Braves, but I met him at a golf tournament at the University of Florida course. And we had time to talk, and we just sat around talking forever. And he was the greatest guy, the greatest individual athlete I've ever talked to just to talk to. And I would bring up old plays. Remember when Lemke did this? Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then here's another story about it. He would just go on and on. One of the best guys I've ever been around. And he lived through the Tom Amansky films. And that's an inside joke. And then maybe not that inside, but Fred McGriff goes into the Hall of Fame. So happy for him. All right, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's get to our Leonardo's of Millhopper quick picks. We got a lot of qualifiers from the last 2. I think we're going to, now again, I'm still not 100% sure on this. I think we're doing a show on the 26th. I got to talk to Tammy about this, whether we're going to do a show on the 26th. If we don't, then that's when we'll pull it. After Christmas. It'll give you something to look forward to after Christmas. We'll pull a winner for the Leonardo's of Millhopper quick picks. Easy one this week. I don't know if it's easy, but it's just one game. Las Vegas -5.5 again at the Rams. Obviously, the Rams with Stafford's injury have just gone down the tubes. It's sad to see what's happened. But anyway, it's a game on Thursday night, Vegas at the Rams. So -5.5 with Vegas. That's our Leonardo's of Millhopper quick pick. Our Adams Ribco to go, Gator of the Week. Weekend, I should say. Adams Ribco to go, Gator of the Weekend. We love our friends over at Adams Ribco to go and at Adams Ribco down there on 13th Street. Man, that's the place to go if you need barbecue. Will Richard is our Adams Ribco to go. Came off a knee injury, missed the last game, made everything against Stetson, and really played well. I thought about making it a volleyball player, but either way, I could have gone with Marikova or somebody like that. Hey, either way, they know that they did something good, but nothing spectacular. Nothing spectacular really happened over the weekend with the Gator athletic programs, but a lot of good things happened. So I'm giving it to Will Richard, 14 points, and really played well. I think he's a big-time player. It feels like they've got some really good players. In fact, do we have that video of one of their players making a 3-point shot? Can we put that up? Because they made a lot of shots. And here's one of them that we didn't see coming. And it happened very late in the game. A little kick out to Jatomo from 3. Book it. I had my daughter send me that because she said that. I said, what was the best thing that happened from the game? And she said, Jatomo's 3. And she's a rowdy reptile, so we counted her. Pretty sweet looking shot. All right, let us get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club games of the week. And again, that sponsorship is open. And what we're going to do is like what we're going to do right today is go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Here's the games you have coming up. So that sponsorship is open. Gainesville Quarterback Club will fall off after the football season, and you can get involved if you want to, and it's pretty cheap, really. Monday night football, New Orleans at Tampa Bay, 8:15. Yeah, I'm going to watch that game because, you know, that division's so bad that everybody's in contention, so that'll be interesting. Tuesday, really good game. Illinois is at Texas. Illinois, number 16. Texas, number 2 in men's basketball. Also, the Florida women that have quietly gotten to 8-1. Florida women's basketball is playing Presbyterian. I'm not saying it's worth watching. I'm just saying they're quietly 8-1. They'll probably win that game. Everything's going to get more interesting with them as well as it will with the men. Then on Wednesday, we have that game we talked about. UConn, number 8 in the country, at Florida, 9 o'clock game. It's on, I think it's on ESPN 2. If you want to watch it, if you want to go to the game. Again, I'm not going to tell anybody to go to a game that starts at 9 o'clock and you're getting home at midnight on a work night. But it's TV rules the world, as we all know. It's just the way it is. So, but it'd be nice to have a full stadium there. The good thing is the Rowdies will be there, so that side will be on TV. So that is going to be a fun game. See where Florida is at this point. That's Wednesday, and then Thursday at 3:30. 3:30. Think about this. Florida plays in the Sweet 16 in volleyball against Pitt in Madison, Wisconsin. So that'll be, I would assume that means there'll be no tailgate that day, but we'll find out for sure today. But that is our Gainesville Quarterback Club games of the weekend. Last thing for you, the Pat Dooley Story Time, which is always is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. We appreciate them for being a sponsor of Pat Dooley Story Time. And today, here's my story time, and it is that I miss going to that SEC football game. I used to go, I've been to a lot of them. I went to not only to all the ones Florida played in, but I also went to several others. I went to when Spurrier was there with South Carolina, went both the Peyton Manning and T. Martin games at Tennessee went there. So we covered the game for a long time. It was just such a great feeling. But what I really miss is going to those games when Florida was good. When Florida was good and you would go to those games, you thought Florida could or would win that game. And I know there were some tough ones, certainly the 94 game against Alabama, but that was the best thing. I'll never forget being there in 94 and Dorian catches that pass and they kick the extra point, Judd Davis, and they get the interception, Eddie Lake late. And I go down the elevator, start running towards the field so I can start interviewing people, talking to people. And Buck Ballou, our friend who was just on the show recently, was coming the other way. He goes, hey, I didn't see that coming. I go, yeah, I didn't either. He goes, hey, by the way, Chris Dorian told me that he had a dream he caught the winning touchdown pass in the SEC championship game. He goes, really? I go, yeah, you can use that. So next thing I know, I'm watching TV that night, and Buck Ballou's on there going, yeah, and Buck Ballou, he said, Chris Dorian had a dream that he was going to catch that winning touchdown pass, according to sources. I'm your source, buddy. I am here. So that is our Pat Dooley story time. And mostly it's that I miss going to that game. And I miss going to it when it mattered. And it was just such a big, it's not just being there for the game. And I love going to the game, but it's the whole excitement around it. And the whole night before, there used to be, I guess there still is, a Christmas parade. Taking Kelsey to that Christmas parade when she was a little girl and Florida was playing for the SEC championship. I'm glad I got to live all that stuff, but I'd like to do it again. Anyway, that's our show for today. Thanks so much to Jason and Tammy for doing a great job. Thanks to all of our great guests. Obviously, Wayne Hogan joining us from Florida's Rising Stars and Dennis Dodd from CBSSports.com on Friday. I think Coach Spurrier is going to be here. If he's not, we'll have another guest. We definitely will have Robbie Andrew doing Yes, No, Where, Maybe. You may have been looking for him today. He'll be on Friday's show. And we'll be back with another show on Friday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.